we're all in this together? Is this what they mean by the age of austerity? Austerity for the many, paid for by tax cuts to the very few? I say poverty and inequality will endure until doomsday if the leader of the opposition is all that is going to confront it. Now, Mr. Speaker, are they also seriously telling us is to remove a cancer guarantee that has saved lives of hundreds of people in this country? Are they seriously telling us that the best way forward in law and order is to cut policing by a $5 billion cut in public services this year? And are they seriously telling us that they're going to have a referendum on the Treaty of Accession for Croatia? Are they seriously saying they're going to split the European Union over an attempt to repatriate the social chapter to this country? Mr. Speaker, when they have a policy, it is always the wrong policy. Mr. Speaker,
on the subject of Europe, will the Prime Minister tell the House how his campaign to get one of the top jobs in the European Union was going? Or is it a case of nul point?
Mr. Speaker, this intervention tells two things. One is the absolute fixation with Europe on the part of the Conservative Party. And secondly, they cannot ask questions about policy. It's all about personalities. When will they realise, when it comes to the choice in this country, it is going to be a choice about the policies we pursue as a country. And at no point during the Leader of the Opposition speech did he put forward one new policy that would benefit the country as a whole. Mr. Speaker, the Conservative Party have been wrong on every single issue we have faced in economic policy this year. They've been wrong on the fiscal stimulus. They've been wrong on what we've done on employment. They're wrong on dealing with the recession. I believe they're wrong on inheritance tax. They're wrong on social care. They're wrong on law and order. We are bringing in a legislative programme that involves substantial restructuring of the financial system, the building of a digital economy in this country. We're leading the world with an energy bill on clean coal. We're giving guarantees for parents and patients. We have a social care bill that will help hundreds of thousands of people. We have got a bill to protect against crime and to make our communities safer. We have an equality bill to end discrimination and make life fairer for everyone. We are banning cluster munitions. Our changes are for the many and not the few, and I commend them to the House.
Mr. Nick Clegg. I would obviously like to add my own expressions. Order. Order. I do hope the House will behave in a way that reflects credit on the House, and can I just appeal therefore to honourable and right honourable members who are leaving the chamber to do so quickly and quietly. Mr. Nick Clegg.
Mr. Speaker, I would obviously like to add my own expressions of sympathy and condolence to the family and friends of Rifleman Andrew Ian Fentiman from the 7th Battalion of Rifles and Corporal Lauren Marlton Thomas from the 33 Engineer Regiment, who tragically lost their lives in Afghanistan this week. I think it's clear now to everybody on all sides of the House that we are arriving at a make or break pivotal moment in the debate about our mission in Afghanistan, as announcements are made here, in Kabul from President Karzai, and of course, most importantly of all, in Washington from President Obama. All of us will need to decide whether those announcements collectively represent the sufficient step change from a failing strategy to a strategy of success. But throughout all of that, we will never forget the professionalism, the bravery and the sacrifice of all of those brave British servicemen and servicewomen who are serving in Afghanistan. I would of course like to join in congratulating the proposer and seconder of the Loyal Address. The Right Honourable Member for Holborn and St Pancras did a truly excellent job of opening the debate. He's widely admired, I think, on all sides of this House for his unbending refusal to bend to fads and fashions. He's known as a determined campaigner who never gives up, so much so that I discovered this week that his Frank for Mayor campaign website is still live on the internet. Throughout all of his long political career, he has often spoken words of wisdom, which it may surprise him, might even dismay him, I have often agreed with. There was a time in 1980 when he said that nuclear missiles were okay, so long as anyone who launched them was compelled to stay above ground afterwards. The time in 1988 when he argued in favour of televising the House of Commons because, as he put it beautifully, we didn't have any reputation to damage. And the moment in 2003 when he memorably remarked to the Labour Party that if a slaughter of the firstborn bill was to be issued from Downing Street, there was a group of super loyalists who would vote for it. Speaking of super loyalists, Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Member for Islington South gave a compelling speech, and also in recounting some of her own life experiences, a very moving speech as well. I had the privilege, as it happens, a few years ago, of travelling with her and some other honourable members on the fundraising charity trek north of the Arctic Circle, which has been referred to several times already today. And I saw then, as I think we all saw, that she is a force to be reckoned with. We all, I remember, she will remember this, tried fishing through holes in the ice. But it was the Honourable Member for Islington South who was the only one to catch anything, which is extraordinary given her confession just now, her interest in marine matters and the fishing and the marine bill. Mr. Speaker, I can report that with impressive strength and a little brutality, she bludgeoned the life out of a poor fish right there on the ice. And as we stood there, she did indeed, and as we stood there watching her with a growing sense of alarm, she turned to me and my honourable friend, the member for Cardiff Central, and said, "I enjoyed that. I pretended it was a Liberal Democrat fish." That's true. Mr. Speaker, turning to the substance of the gracious speech, all the pageantry in the world cannot cover up the fact that this is a fantasy Queen's speech. From a government that's running out of road, from a parliament that's lost the trust of the British people. A Queen's speech which won't give people the help on housing, on bank lending, on adult joblessness that they so desperately need in this recession. A Queen's speech which won't fix our rotten politics. After 12 long years in which this government has passed nearly 500 different laws, along with countless thousands of statutory instruments, it's right to stop and ask the simple question: what is this Queen's speech really for? Now, when backed into a corner, when unsure of what to do, this government has always reached for its pen to start drafting yet another new law. Legislation is Labour's comfort blanket. It makes them feel good. Yet in these dying days of the Labour government, when people desperately need help, the government should legislate less and focus on getting things done. That means creating jobs beyond the re-announcements of today for the 2.5 million people who are unemployed. It means drawing up plans for a fair tax system, closing loopholes at the top to cut taxes for people on low and average incomes. It means getting the banks to start lending again so businesses can survive. It means setting out a new and workable strategy in Afghanistan. These should be the government's priorities, not fantasy bills that we know won't even make it onto the statute book. Of the bills proposed in last year's Queen's speech, just two had made it onto the statute book by May of this year, and this year won't be any different. The legislation promised today is just a political displacement activity for real action to help people. How absurd is it to have a fiscal responsibility bill making it law for the government to halve the deficit over 4 years? It's like passing a law promising to get up early every morning. You don't pass a law, you just do it. Does the Prime Minister have so little faith in his own self-discipline? Then there's the Child Poverty Bill. It sets a legal target, but it doesn't put a single penny in the pocket of a single struggling family. If laws could feed and clothe children, there wouldn't be a single family in poverty in Britain after 12 years of Labour. Another law will do nothing. We need action. Then there are the laws that are simply unnecessary because the government could act without them. The Financial Services Bill, supposedly to crack down on bonuses. But everyone knows that the Financial Services Authority already has most of the powers the government is promising in this bill. Real radical action would be taking the advice of the Governor of Bank of England and finally splitting up the banks to separate retail and investment banking and so protect consumers. And until that is done, imposing an extra levy on the profits of the banks so they pay for the taxpayer guarantee by which they've been propped up, and we get a return on our investment. Today's bill does none of this. just more displacement activity to make it look like the government